Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining the webinar today on creating and sharing effective content. We're just going to give it a minute or two just to give people a chance to join, and then we will be ready to go. Hi, everyone. Thank you again for joining the webinar today. I think we'll get started to avoid running out of time at the end. So I want to welcome you all to the Creating and Sharing Effective Content webinar with us today. We're kindly joined by Nick Day, who works with the Directory of Social Change to help charities build out their fundraising capabilities. And obviously, I'm Sahil. I'm the Key Partnerships Manager at The Big Give, and we have Beth, who is our Marketing Comms Manager. Just some housekeeping before I hand over to Nick. So we have the chat enabled. So please if you want to introduce yourselves to any of the other charities or attendees, please introduce yourselves here. Just make sure the to is set to everyone so everyone can see what you're writing. So really good way to network and maybe just understand a bit more about other charities joining us today and maybe share ideas. If you have any questions for the Q&A portion of the webinar at the end, please put them in the Q&A box at the bottom of your Zoom panel. That's where we'll be picking up the questions. Try to avoid putting them in the chat because sometimes we may miss them. We are recording the webinar, so if you want to watch it back, share it with your colleagues. It will be available on our YouTube channel very soon after in the next few days. And if you have any you need any captions for any hearing difficulties, you can click on the More button at the bottom of your Zoom panel, and it should come up with a caption option. So if you need that, please do make a use of that. With that in mind, I will now hand over to Nick to get us underway.
Hi, welcome everyone. Nice to see you all. And thank you so much to Sahil and Beth for inviting me to run this session for you today. And fantastic to see so many of you joining us today, which is absolutely great. So just a little bit about me and my background. I'm an associate trainer with the Directory of Social Change. So I might have met some of you on some of the many courses that I run for them. I do a lot of general marketing and digital marketing training courses that I deliver for them. So if I haven't seen you on one of those, maybe I will at some point in the future. So that's a key part of what I do in terms of supporting the not-for-profit sector. But as the slide suggests, I have multi-purposes in life, and as well as being a trainer, I'm very much a practitioner as well. I do work at the coalface. I do work in digital marketing, looking at pay-per-click ads and email marketing and search engine optimization and content production and so on. So all of those different components that you will be juggling with, I work with in my day-to-day life as well. I'm also a tutor for the Chartered Institute of Marketing as well. If any of you have looked at any of their qualifications, I deliver a number of courses all the way from level 3 A-level standard to postgrad level 7. And I deliver the new Content Strategy Award. Well worth having a look at doing that. It's a 6-week program, that one, a level 6 degree level Content Strategy Award, which we've just started delivering, going to be delivering this autumn, which is really exciting. And I also deliver the Content Producer Apprenticeship program as well. So that's a little bit of my background, and today we are going to be very much focusing on content. So hopefully I'll dovetail. I know you've had an SEO webinar as well. I'll touch on a little bit to do with that, and I know you've got some social media webinars coming up as well. So I'm a little bit of touching on social, but I'm not going to be going into lots and lots of detail on that. So a few of the things that we're going to consider as we go through today. So I'm going to talk probably about 40 minutes or so, and then we've got plenty of time for some questions at the end. But these are things that I thought would be useful as you go into planning your Christmas challenge campaigns. So I think really, really important is this idea of generating flexible content. Too often we start with a blank sheet of paper, and do we need to do that? A lot of content can be recycled and reused, so we're going to be touching on that a little bit. We're going to be looking at creating messages, trying to get that effective mix of copy and visuals. You'll know from the SEO webinar that you had earlier this week how important text is in terms of optimizing search pickup, not just Google search pickup, of course, but also social media pickup as well, social media search pickup as well. And we'll try and have a look at how do you get that balance between the copy and the visuals. So search likes copy, target audiences like visuals, trying to get those two things balanced. We'll have a little look at delivering content effectively across a range of channels. I'm not going to be focusing on social. I'm going to be focusing more on sort of website and email and how to present content effectively on those platforms. So that's going to be a little bit of my focus. And harnessing the power of artificial intelligence to stream your workflow as well. So a lot obviously in the media about artificial intelligence. I think it brings some real positives, but also some real challenges as well. So we'll try and explore those a little bit towards the end. But the starting point for me on content, I always think is this, and this comes from Smart Insights. If you haven't explored Smart Insights, it's not our sector based, but there's loads of really good digital marketing and digital marketing communications content there, and you can set up a free subscription to that. And trust me, everything comes from top people in digital marketing. All of their content is really really reliable and super useful. And this is one of the things that I think is just a great place to start on content. Every decision that supporters make is part based on emotion and part based on rational. It's that balance between the head and the heart. And this is not fixed. Some days we are more susceptible and are receptive to emotional-based messaging. Other days we're more responsive to rational-based messaging. And if you think about the journey in terms of the sector, quite often we draw people in on an emotional trigger, an emotional response. But sooner or later we start to think, well, how are they spending my money? Is it being invested wisely? Can I trust them? Is enough of what I give going to the cause, or is it just getting spent on administration and marketing? So that balance between emotional and rational is really important, and we need to meet both needs. And of course this this match funding proposition is very much on the rational side of things, and that's a really important argument to get across. But we also need some emotional stuff in there as well. So we break this down into the four matrices. We balance the head and the heart, and then we also think about where are they in the journey. Are they new to us? Are we trying to build awareness for what we do, or are they already aware of us and we're trying to convince them to give or to give again? And of course this match funding is that perfect opportunity to get the waverers over the line and give them a real incentive to make a donation. So I think it's a great place to start. If you take away nothing else from today, take away this. This for me is the most useful aspect of balancing your content. So do a little content, look at the content that you've got and that you've done, and try to ensure there's a balance, and try to ensure you've got some stuff that inspires, some stuff that entertains, some stuff that educates, some content that convinces. And then you've got a balanced campaign that's likely to be more successful. So it is literally ticking all of the boxes. Now, that's not to say you can't have a greater focus under educate and convince. That's absolutely fine. But try to make sure you've got a good balance of your content. And also think about the distribution as well. I'm not going to go into too much detail on this, but think about this balance of what's most effective in terms of low volume versus high volume, return on investment. And you can see where you've got high volume, high ROI is likely to be things like organic reach through Facebook. It could be through using things like Google Ads. It could be using X, formerly Twitter. It can be that SEO, that long tail SEO that you probably looked at in the previous webinar. So again, try to sort of think about what are going to be our high return on investment. We don't necessarily always need high volume, but what's going to be your best return on investment for this? And try to focus in, particularly for this campaign, try to focus in on what is going to deliver you that return on investment. So that's another really useful matrix also there from Smart Insights. So I just want to give a little plug to this as well. So I know a lot of what you're going to be doing, you're probably going to be relying on organic search engine optimization, perhaps organic Facebook, organic Twitter, X, Twitter. And I just wanted to just remind you of this. If you've got a Google grant, SEO is great, but you've got to be super well organized for the search engines to pick up on campaign content. So what can really help plug the gap is this. This is Google Grants. Might be a little bit too late to apply in time for your campaign, your December campaign this year. But I know a lot of you have got these grants already in place, and sometimes we kind of forget about it. We let it run with the day-to-day stuff. You can use your Google Grants to get the impact for your campaign out there. It'll make such a big difference. If you've got it, make sure you're using it and leveraging it for this campaign and the campaigns that, of course, you're going to run into 2024. So this is really, really important. There's some good case studies here, but if you haven't applied for it, do apply for it. Provided you are non-denominational, not promoting any particular religion, and you're non-political, not promoting any kind of political slant, and you're a registered charity, you will qualify and you will get a Google grant. So make sure if you've got it that you leverage it for these different campaigns. I know a lot of the time charities have it for their always on marketing communications, but don't forget it. Make sure that you integrate it if you've already got it. If you haven't applied for it, you might get it in time, but something that needs ticking off. Right. That's the advert for Google out of the way. Let's get into 5 key content types. So we're going to look at some of these. And what I've done is, and again, I would just draw your attention to this super useful part of the website. So on the Big Give website, under resources, tucked away at the end here, is case studies. This, I've drawn some, I'm going to reference some of these today and big up some of these, because what a fantastic resource. If you're new to this, maybe this is your first Big Give that you're working on, or your first Christmas campaign or Christmas challenge, then have a look through this. I tell you, I just thought it was just such a useful set of information here to really, really help you. And I think the particular highlights for me that I thought were particularly good, the Just Life Foundation, I thought outstanding in terms of helping you to plan and prepare. So some really fantastic preparation and planning stuff in there. I'm going to reference quite a few of these. The British Liver Trust, I think, is exceptional. Again, exceptional planning. That's what they got their awards for. And so do have a look at these. They're well worth exploring, and I'm going to pinch some of this stuff today to illustrate some of the points that I want to make. So we're going to start with storytelling. This is the crux of it, in my opinion. This is the nub of it. We'll have a little look at user-generated content, the importance of educational content, tapping into advocacy and activism. We do live in the age of activism. Are you harnessing the power of activism and advocacy? I think that's a really important part. And what about live streaming events? Are you bringing that content in? Are you trying to, the real life actual events that are going on, are you bringing in a digital element to them? And I think that's really important as well. So we're going to be having a look at a few of these. And so storytelling, this is absolutely key. And using compelling stories to showcase your impact and mission, and try to feature real life stories of people whose lives have been changed by your work, or people who work at the delivery end of what you do. And I think that's really important. So real life stories can be shared from the beneficiary, but also those who are delivering the benefit to the beneficiary. The key thing here is about authenticity. And it needs a clear beginning. We need clear key players in that story who are going on some kind of journey that ends on success in some way or achievement in some way. And that's essentially what storytelling is. It needs a strong beginning and scene setting. This is the situation as it is. This is the story of what happened to this, and this is the end. This is the happy ending that that storytelling should deliver. And I thought this was just such a good example of this. So this was again from last year's campaign. So great example of storytelling. So this is nMighty, and they really seized this case study opportunity last year. Instantly, I look at the imagery and I think, yeah, these two people, we've got one male, one female, slight sort of variance in the ages. They look like real people. It's got this degree of authenticity. And these people look like, they're approachable people, that they've got a story to tell. And I thought this was just outstanding what they did here. So this is the research that they looked at. A theme that came up regularly during conversations was the importance of storytelling throughout the campaign. We asked 2 of our current students, authenticity, to act as the faces of the campaign. These students are perfect. We chose, they were from Hereford and had received bursaries so they could share first-hand experience, authentic, of their journeys and how the money raised would make a difference within the local community, the happy ending to the story. So we've got Finn and Tom, and they provided written case studies, recorded videos, and attended the launch event. They were a big hit. Of course, they're going to be a big hit. You can see that they've chosen these 2 people really well, and they've got this lovely, buttons to meet Thomas and meet Finn. And I just thought it was a really super campaign, this one, that just really shows the power of storytelling and how those key ingredients. Look at the quality of the picture here. These 2 are making eye contact. A great picture is eye contact or people doing something out in the field, delivering for delivering for the beneficiaries or the cause. So I thought this was a really, really good example, this one. So one to definitely have an explore of. Again, that's all in that case studies section. Okay, user-generated content. Why is this important? Well, the reality is that the world we live in today is as much shaped by the communications that we put out about ourselves as what other people say about us, what customers say about us, what supporters say about us, what beneficiaries say about us. So this idea of user-generated content is really, really important, and try to encourage supporters to share their own stories and experience with you and your supporters. This is what gets momentum into a campaign. So try to showcase user-generated content. If you're getting it, are you optimizing it? So try to ensure that you've got it on your website, you're putting it through your social channels. Maybe there's email, this can be added into emails, or maybe you can do solus email shots or e-shots that showcase some of the user-generated examples. And I thought this was a really, really good one again. So this was LMK. Let's just switch over and just have a quick look at this one. So I really like this. So they've got, again, this beautiful planning here in terms of what they've done. Stage 1, getting the pledges up front. And then this was stage 2, creating compelling materials. This is the content section. This is the nub of it. And I just love the way they've done this. And you can click through. These are still on Instagram. You can click through and have a look at these. Kashi's LMK impact testimonial, Atitaya's a big give, why donate video, and these lovely little, look at the way these are presented. So we've got Tilly and Hope, and these nice little quotes and things. Don't underestimate the power of quotes. Don't underestimate the power of testimonials. Either for now or perhaps based on what you did last year and the success that you achieved with that. So I thought that was a great example of some user-generated content there. And just look at, I mean, this is a screen grab from Instagram, but just look at the tone of voice here. I think this is so important in terms of the tone of voice. You're still smashing the big give. Can you help us reach the 11,000 by the end of today? We're nearly there. And it's just, it's so powerful, and it works well. It's got that enthusiasm and it supports the video so well on that one. So that that's a good one there. And what about educational content then? So it is proven that educational content and quality educational content can be one of the biggest drivers of donations. So creating educational content that addresses the audience's pain points. Now that can be there's two ways of looking at it. You can look at the beneficiaries' pain points and the issues and challenges that you're seeking to overcome there. Or what about pain points for the supporter? You can also look at that. So remember, we've got, content can be focused on the supporter but also utilize, of course, the beneficiary. So sharing informative blog posts, videos in particular, videos that educate on what you do and what you deliver, I think is one of the single most valuable pieces of content. Infographics, putting it into digestible, bite-sized chunks, we'll come on to that in a moment, and using a range of different content formats. And I thought this was brilliant. This was from Just Life. And what they did, let's just I just want to go through to their section here. So again, this is from the case studies that are there for you to have a look at. But they did a warm-up campaign. For the main campaign, they did a warm-up campaign. And I thought, yeah, spot on. Those sort of teasers, that scene setting, I think it's so important. And what I really liked here was they were using this these newsletters that were going out. I'm not sure if these were printed or they might well have been e-newsletters. It doesn't matter. I mean, you can use both. Of course you can. But a month before the campaign, we shared a mental health focused before and after story alongside a link to our pledge form. The story was about a woman who hadn't left her home for 2 months because of anxiety. So this is really important educational stuff about the cause, and they linked in with their World Homelessness Day, which was, a campaign sort of that preceded this. And you can see here, you can explore this about what they did preceding it, and then you've got the badge of the Christmas challenge that's there as well. So making people stay in temporary accommodation short, safe, and healthy. So really, really nice educational stuff about the cause, but I can't sort of reiterate enough the importance of having video if you can. I know it's not, I think the problem with video is people think, oh, it's got to be super glossy, it's got to be super styled. It hasn't. It's just got to look authentic. And of course, we can all do video on our phone now. We can record videos direct into TikTok, for example. The video, I still think, we've had YouTube, I don't know, for donkey's years now. And I still think it's still one of the most underutilized tools in the content toolkit is creation of and use of video. And particularly educational videos can just make such a big difference. So do have a look at exploring that. The advocacy and activism. Use your voice to advocate for change and use social media and other channels to share your message and encourage action. I thought this was brilliant. And this is from British Liver Trust. And just look at the quote here. Look at the way it's presented. Look at the quote. The Love Your Liver events, the campaign, are a powerful way to reach out to the community and make more people aware of the damage that can be done to their liver. We need many more open conversations about the liver, more education, screening, and so on. Okay, great. And, they did a fantastic job with, they didn't focus in on the technical aspects. It's so easy to focus on the technicalities of this. And what they really focused on was things like the headline statistics. We'll see some examples actually in just a moment. But just a really good campaign to have a look at, this one. And I just thought, yeah, this is about looking at a community and trying to shape and reshape opinion and tapping into that activism and advocacy. And live streaming events, I think, we're so desperate to get back to live events now, aren't we? And after years of lockdown and not being able to run them, of course, this is such an important part. But I think when we were forced to do it, we did it quite well, didn't we, with all of the live streaming and so on. But I think, and we're desperate to get back to sort of real life and real events, I think the two can work really, really well together. And I think a really good example of this, again, from these case studies, is Children on the Edge. I think they did such a brilliant job here. And they had their event strategy, tweaking our events to make more of an impact. The Christmas drinks, so that was obviously their big, I think this is the 2021, their Christmas drinks. And then they added in a Facebook Live with Children on the Edge. And, this virtual event here, supporting a live event, an actual real life event, I thought was just such a good balance. And not everyone can make a live event, can they? In-person event. So it's giving people flexibility. They can still be a part of it. And if you present it well, and the benefits of attending either in person or online, this can work really, really well. So thinking about the matrix that I touched on at the start, and thinking about some of the things we've just looked at, build your content pillars. This isn't a template, it's just an example as to how you can start to separate out your content into what we call pillars. This will help you get balance. This will help you get range and meet the needs of potentially multiple different audience types. So this example here, I mean, just do it in a spreadsheet or even just columns on a Word document. It hasn't got to be fancy, or a PowerPoint slide. But perhaps think about what can we do in terms of education? What can we do in terms of sharing our culture and our values? What can we do to build trust? What can we do to promote these big events like the Big Give? What can we do to inspire people? Build your own pillars. It will enable you to get range in your content. It will enable you to focus more, and it will enable you to get more variety in terms of what you do. So let's get into content structure then. So content structure, we've got 3 aspects to look at here. The first one is evergreen content, what we call evergreen content. And this can be used at any moment because it's not time sensitive, can be planned well in advance. And this is the content we reuse, recycle, repurpose multiple times. And this, for me, is always the starting point of any campaign. I know, particularly if you're new to this, maybe this is your first year of doing this, look at what you can reuse. Look at your asset bank, your content asset bank. What can you reuse and recycle? So dig out those case studies, the educational videos. This is great evergreen content. So think about, what can you repurpose for the Christmas challenge? This I thought was a brilliant example. This is on the Just Life. They took a video. This, how we support homeless people. So quite a general educational video. But what they did was overlay it with a caption that said, right, our impact since last year's Big Give. And they put some sort of headline numbers in there of the difference that they had made. This is what we mean by evergreen content, is taking things and overlaying, supplementing, maybe a bit of editing, maybe a bit of adjustment, and repurposing it and reusing it. So I think the start of any campaign should always be, right, what have we got? What have we got? What did we do last year? What have we got? What can we reuse? What can we repurpose? I think that's so important. And then the second aspect of content structure is the planned content. And this fits around, guess what? Scheduled events, and is relevant and customized around a short time window. So the Christmas challenge is an example of planned content. We need to plan and create customized content. And maybe, again, if this is your first year, think, okay, perhaps what we create this year, we might be able to reuse some of it next year. Or if you did it last year, maybe you can reuse some of it. Go back and look at what's been planned and use that as your basis for planning for this year. For me, the focus needs to be on the match funding aspects, and content that explains match funding, I think, is absolutely critical. And as we just saw, look at the content that you can do to demonstrate success since last year. Yes, we've got to sell the cause. Yes, we've got to sell the need, but we've also got to sell hope. And success is what sells hope for a better future, a resolution to the problem that we're addressing. And I thought this was brilliant. This was Women and Girls Match Fund. This is what I mean by content that explains what match funding is. I know we work in the sector and we go, oh, everyone knows what match funding is. Do you know what? They don't. And what I thought was so superb about this, I think work in threes. Threes work well. 3 different sums of money. Explain what match funding converts those into. It's not patronizing. The people that can do the maths and know what match funding is won't be offended by it. Those who are less conversant with the jargon will go, oh, that's what match funding means. It's not the audience's job to work out what match funding means. It's your job to present it in a way that shows how this added benefit can make a difference. And what they've done so well here is they've said £5 becomes 10 and then explained what that could buy. 20 becomes 40, what that could buy. 50 becomes 100, what that could deliver. Beautifully presented. And I think in the threes, 3 examples. So 5 becomes 10, 20 becomes 40, whatever works for you, and try to attach to that what that could deliver. And I think that's a key component of success with this type of campaign. And then we've got what's called topical content. So this fits around current newsworthy items. So keep an eye on what's in the media and try to stay agile and relevant. None of us know what the future holds, but topical content and this concept of real-time marketing is piggybacking onto what people are talking about. So if you've got content that can be relevant to the cost of living crisis, then that's great. And I think a key part of topical content is keeping your supporters up to date and with the progress towards what you're trying to achieve. And I think this is really, really important. And Just Life, I thought, this is a good example of tapping into the impact of the cost of living crisis. This is what they looked at last year. And so try to think about if there's relevant aspects of what people are talking about, what's in the media, that you can lean on appropriately. Of course, there's lots of things going on in the world that we might not want to lean on, but if there's things and topics of conversation that we can lean on and lean into, then we can leverage those. And Just Life did a good job of that last year. But I thought this was great as well. This is the Hygiene Bank, and I thought they did such a brilliant job, actually. And I think this might have been our first Christmas challenge. Yeah, it was. And wow, what a way to go. And these updates and thank yous. The thank you is important. It's always important. But I just love the update, and I thought it's quite a simple graphic. I mean, anyone could do this graphic in Canva, for example. This is not a complex graphic. We can all be graphic designers to that level just by using Canva. And I thought what was really good was never underestimate the power of, once you're close to a target and people can see you're within striking distance of that target, is this opportunity to really, this is your chance to just push some of those waverers over the line, those people that were like, oh, I suppose I was going to get round to it, I need to do it. These waverers, just showing that you're within striking distance of the target that you've set is so powerful, because people think, and what you can do is you'll get the waivers, but you'll also get the people that have already made a donation and going, oh, I could probably afford to stick another £5 in. And that I think is really important. And that, for me, I think is a big part of topical content, is keeping the people updated on the campaign. I think it's so important. And okay. So let's just have a think about, I'm sort of conscious of the time, about creating content. This, for me, again, this is another key takeaway. On your content that you're creating, does it pass the AIDA test? Will it get people's attention, hold their interest, create some kind of desire? Of course, match funding is a really good way to promote desire, and the call to action at the end is so important. And do you know what I look at, and people ask me to critique work and critique content, and inevitably my main recommendation is your call to action is not strong enough. It's not good enough. It's not, you've done all of that work to get to the yellow zone, the desire zone, and then the call to action just fizzles out. A good call to action is not, for more information, visit our website. It's a call to action, but it's not a strong call to action. The call to action is so important. And we'll have a look at a few of these aspects, but don't fall at the final hurdle. Headlines. The headlines, the 4 U's, unique. Try to differentiate from the competition. Be specific. Provide enough information to move through and create the interest. Focus is what matters. Focus and being ultra specific. Don't try to do too much. Urgency really important, including something that compels readers to continue reading so they don't miss out. And useful, a clear benefit. Match funding enables you to do all of these 4 things. And I couldn't open it earlier because I think there was a particular problem on my caching on my browser. But have a look. If you work a lot in isolation, the headline analyzer tool, let's just see if it'll open for me now. Yeah, it will do. Okay, brilliant. Okay, so this is where you can use a bit of artificial intelligence to help you create and generate your headlines. So I'm just going to try and open it up. Yeah, okay, it does. So if you open up an account with them, you can bank all of your work within it. There is a free version. It's a freemium model, so just be aware of that. But try it. You can certainly try it for free. And what it does is enable you to gain a headline score. What's the quality of your headline? This is such a brilliant tool. And what we're trying to do is get to this to turn green. And you can map your content, and sometimes you'll get close and then you'll try something and it'll fall back a bit. But it just is, if you work a lot on your own, this is such a useful tool to help you get to grips with it. And there's so many bolt-ons here. Just have a look at it. It'll also do you an SEO score, which I think is super useful. And if you really are sort of really stuck, there's a headline AI for you as well. So I just think it's such a great package that they've put together, and it keeps evolving. They've recently added the headline AI. And you know what? The headline, whether it's a website article, whether it's an email, if it's the email, the headline is the subject line. Think of your subject line as the headline, the attention grabber. With email, subject line is king. Doesn't matter how great the content is. If you've got a weak subject line and it doesn't draw me in, it'll just get lost. So headlines are absolutely key. And just sort of refer back to these as you're developing headlines for articles, blog articles, web articles, email subject lines. That's the place to really try and get those killer headlines. These are great. I mean, I think these are great examples, beautifully presented from the Hygiene Bank. I think this can't remember who that. Oh, that was Just Life. Feeling clean is vital for self-esteem. I mean, it's snappy, isn't it? It's catchy, got a nice little simple graphic, works really well. Make it visual. So this is really important, that balance of images, banners, buttons, colors. But be careful, you don't want it to overload people. Just try to think about nice, clear, concise presentation, good use of a palette of colors, and critically buttons. Really think about the buttons. We'll have a look at some examples in just a moment, actually. But the button should look like a button, and it should tell me what I'm going to get on the other side. Try to avoid buttons that go click here to read more, click here to read more, click here to read more. It loses its impact very quickly, and it mix it up. tell me in a button what I'm going to get on the other side, and make it stand out. People, if they see a button, they know they can click on it. Really, 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 really good. This I thought was a great example of making it visual. Make sure the banner on your website is up to date. You know, banners are places to tell me about the latest thing that's going on. So make sure that, you know, you've got that big give launch stuff there as well. And the Moja Kids, which was part of, just see if I can quickly find it. I think it was this one. Yeah, this. Absolutely stunning. Again, children on the edge. We use content made by the children themselves. How visually beautiful is that? And so powerful. So again, if you've got those opportunities, you know, do use them. Make it visual. And in terms of the text-based content, make it digestible. Break it up. Indents of little testimonials, indents of pictures, indents of quotes, bite-sized chunks, shorter paragraphs. Keep it concise. This applies to your web content. It applies very much to your email content. Make it digestible. Paragraphs, headers, break up the text. Good example here. This was from Just Life. Starting with a beautiful quote, then a headline, then a list of bullet points. You know, use bullet points. If something belongs in a list, put it in a list. Key things to remember about, you know, this year's Christmas challenge. 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfect way to do it. And make it, break it up. Don't make it look like pages from a book. If it looks like pages from a novel, you need to rethink your presentation of the content. The quality could be brilliant, but it's got to look digestible. It's so important. And keep it simple. I thought, well, I'll let the sort of example do it, but just, I thought the liver, this one was just so brilliant, the mobile liver scanning unit. But look at the way in the center there, how they've presented that statistic. How simple is that in terms of conveying something and a message? Those graphics work so well. So talking too much and using lots of long words, you know, can seem condescending, can look like it's too dry, and people scan. They don't start at the beginning, read, get to the end and go, right, what do I need to do now? They scan, they look for points of interest. So keeping it simple and trying to drive out unnecessary jargon will make a big difference. So a few points on the call to action. I'll let you digest this a little bit more in your own time, but good design, high visibility, clear benefit, actionable text, nice and short in length, and its sense of urgency. These are the key ingredients to a call to action, that critical part. And as I said earlier, those tell me what I'm going to get on the other side of the button, rather than click here for more information, click here to visit our website, or even just the worst of all, click here. You know, donate through Big Give, take me to Big Give. These are strong calls to action, supported by some text, a reason to want to click through. It's really good. So I'm really conscious I'm running out of time, and I promise I'm going to close up in just a moment. I've put at the end of the slide deck, there's some suggestions for AI content creation tools. But if you're not sure what this is and you're hearing about it, it means using tools powered by artificial intelligence to generate content or help generate content. I think there's a big difference on that. So there's chatbots like ChatGPT. They use language, meaning it'll respond to text you input and then generate outputs. I mean, think of it like you put something into Google and it comes up with a set of results, doesn't it? And the quality of the results you get will partly be dependent on the quality of what you put into the search bar, won't it? It's the same kind of principles here. You know, you can create anything from long form blog content to social media captions to headlines. I think with headlines, it's really, really good. There's a great YouTube video here for you to have a look at in your own time. and lots of useful stuff on HubSpot as well, actually. But use it to generate ideas or inspiration. And I just want to leave you with just a few, and again, a nice video there as well for you to watch. The pros and cons of going down this route. Efficiency and scalability, yes. Cost effective, yes. Improves SEO, yes, because it will tap into the search terms that people are using. Helps to overcome writer's block. Yeah, helps to get you over the line on things. Absolutely. But quality concerns and plagiarism, you've got to be careful. There is evidence that algorithms devalue content that is obviously just pure AI content. And by algorithms, I mean things like the Google search algorithm, the Facebook algorithm, the TikTok algorithm, the Instagram algorithm. They will devalue the content. And there are tools that enable you to judge a piece of content. On social media in particular, you can do a thing right that will check whether it's been generated by AI or an actual person. If it's easy enough for me to do that, think about how easy it is for the algorithms to do that. Lack of creativity and personalization, I think, is a real potential issue. And I think, use it, but it's a bit like using Google Translate and going, oh, right, we've just translated everything into French. Perfect. Let's just publish that. You wouldn't do it, would you? You'd say, right, and now we need someone who speaks French to go through and check this all makes sense. And it's the same principles here, is that human editing is still so important, to check that it makes sense, to check that it's got the right level of personalization, the right tone of voice is really important. And remember, it can't generate new ideas. You need to start the conversation. You need to start the process. It can't do it for you. So that's it. There's some links at the end for you at the presentation. There's a list of AI tools, and I think it's probably best if I come off screen share and see what questions we've got that have come in.
Thanks, Nick. That was really great, and I'm sure a lot of great advice or great information that charities will be using now. We are a bit pressed for time, but I'm going to try and whiz through as many questions as we can. Sophie at Camden Psychotherapy Unit has said they've applied for Google grants twice and not heard anything back at all. Do you have any advice? Maybe it's rejection. Would you just say get in touch with Google?
Yeah, the problem with Google is that they're not the easiest people to deal with. I've applied. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry to hear that you've applied and not. I would just keep going back. Is there anything that you've missed in terms of your application? And again, just come back to that sort of checklist. Have you included things like your registered charity number? Have you is there a question over driving political agenda or religious based agenda? I would try again. So I'm sorry that you've had that experience. That's not good to hear. But I would pursue it. I would keep going.
Thanks, Nick. We've got another question from Jane, who says, we're always worried about the reaction from our community when the match funding pot has emptied. Do you have any thoughts about managing expectations if they're fortunate enough to get close to or smash their target this year?
Oh, do you want to just give me a bit more perspective on that one, Beth? Sorry, who did that come in from? Oh, right. Yeah, Jane. Let me just read that again.
I'll just jump in here quickly and just say that charities that exceed their target can apply for the Christmas Challenge Awards, where there are cash prizes on offer. We have about 10 different categories. And one of the criteria we judge it on is by how much a charity has exceeded the target. And the other one is obviously charity has to submit a case study to us on their campaign. So that is one incentive to encourage people to keep on giving even after you hit your target.
But I think, yeah, I mean, I think the thing to do is always hope for the best, but plan for the worst. And I think, just linking on with what Sahil was just saying there, I think there's the opportunity to go, right, okay, if we need to present an update that's perhaps not quite what we wanted it to be, how can we frame this in the best way possible and still focus on the benefits of what you have achieved, the benefits of what you can deliver, thanking people for their support, and just get those elements in fun, prepared in advance, really, if you can. But yeah, there's always going to be, with anything like match funding, there's always going to be an opportunity to, that you may not get everything you'd hoped for, but just focus on the positives and thank people and state, that, every penny makes a difference, every pound makes a difference. So prepare for it, prepare for the worst is always a good thing to do. Yeah. Or not the outcome that you wanted. Yeah. Good. Do you want to pick another one?
Yeah, we had a couple on pain
Oh,
points.
yeah.
Someone's asked what is a pain point, and another person has mentioned that pain points are an interesting one for them because it's a lot of information to get across to their donors. For example, the different payment methods and things like that, and donating outside like certain times or between a certain time. So how can they kind of get that information across in that simple, digestible way without putting them off?
Yeah, no, and I think with anything that's sort of forms, I think the key thing with pain points, we all have pain points. It's like, to sum it up, it's like a pain point. If you do online shopping and you put all the stuff in your basket and you go to checkout and it says delivery is £15.56 and you go, what? That's a pain point. That's what we mean, is a disappointment. We've built and built and built, and we've created a disappointment at the end because suddenly there's a huge delivery charge. And that's what we mean, is a disappointment somewhere in the journey. And I think that's a critical thing there. So the thing to do with the things that upset people is the donation process looking overly cluttered, asking for more information you need. Keep it simple. Think about the funnel. Think about the funneling techniques. And the closer we are to getting the response that we want, get rid of the clutter on the page. There's actually some good examples within the case studies of just as we get to the donation point, get rid of all of the clutter, don't ask for information you don't need, and acts as a hurdle, to further hurdles. Don't put more barriers in the way that you need to. Simplify it, cut the clutter, just remind people, give them a good reason to why to see it through to the end. And that's, a good way around pain points, I think.
Great. And we have just one last question from Caitlin, who's asking, what would be the ideal length for video content to share on social media?
Okay. Take your guidance from TikTok. If you go into TikTok and create a video, the maximum length you can do is 3 minutes. You can upload a video to TikTok of up to 10 minutes, but if you're creating it in TikTok, 3 minutes. So there's your first clue. I think with video content, try to create a short version that is a snapshot or sort of key outputs in a minute or about a minute, and 1 minute is the ideal length. If you then want a sort of a medium length version and a longer version for people that want a fuller story, then I think that's fine. But always try to create, if you've got a lengthy video, always try to create a 1 minute snapshot of the key points and key outcomes or key benefits or things to remember. So 1 minute is the ideal. And one of the reasons why so much stuff on YouTube is unloved and unwatched is because it's too long. so yeah, 1 minute. Take your steer from TikTok on that one.
That's great advice, and we have finished bang on time. So I just want to thank you, Nick, for joining us today and delivering great webinar. I know a lot of charities already saying it's great info that you've shared with them today. So thank you for joining us today. It's been really great for us as well to learn some new things for the Big Give team as well. I just want to also say thank you everyone for joining us today and for all your questions. Hope everyone has a good weekend. A reminder that we have the charity panel webinar on Monday, and then the 2 social media webinars on Wednesday and Thursday. So please do join us for those 2 webinars, and hope everyone has a great weekend. Bye.